Welcome to Intuitive Defense. My name is Baker. I'm currently out of the country right now, but I wanted to take an opportunity and discuss an important issue that pertains to your Second Amendment right if you live in California. But if you don't live there, don't leave just yet, because this type of anti-Second Amendment legislation could also impact rights and freedoms in other states, maybe even yours. Before diving into the deep end of rights infringement, we need to discuss how this snowball starts. California Assembly Bill 1127, which will be further referred to as AB 1127 in this video, was signed into law October 13th, 2025. AB 1127 bans the sale of semi-automatic machine gun convertible pistols with specific internal parts, including but potentially not limiting to those with a cruciform trigger bar, modifiable backplate, and or specific striker fire safety systems. These internal parts can be found in Glock pistols along with some Glock clone pistols, which is why AB 1127 is commonly referred to as the Glock ban bill. The main purpose of this new gun law is to target semi-automatic pistols that can be readily converted to fire full automatic with a single press of the trigger. Real quick, if you don't know, semi-automatic means one projectile, or bullet, is fired with one press of the trigger. Full automatic, or automatic, means multiple projectiles are fired with one press of the trigger. This distinction, by definition, is what separates a non-machine gun firearm from a machine gun firearm. On the surface, this might seem like a good law because machine guns bad, but there are already laws without certain licenses making owning and or converting a full auto firearm illegal. If laws addressing this are already in place, why do we need additional laws? Here's why. Because this new law targets an entire class of legal non-machine gun firearms on the basis they might, at some point, possibly be turned into an illegal machine gun firearm. When people say politicians aren't coming for legal guns, they are. And here's the proof. California politicians are using an item known as a Glock switch as a Trojan horse to limit and reduce the Second Amendment right of citizens. A Glock switch, which is already illegal to possess, is a small device that attaches to the rear of the pistol slide by replacing the backplate. When installed, this device converts a semi-automatic pistol to fire full auto. Again, this type of conversion is already federally illegal without the proper licenses and paperwork. In essence, what these politicians are doing is creating a law that would deprive all citizens of their right to select a legal firearm from a specific manufacturer because someone in the future might commit the crime, if they don't already have the proper paperwork, of converting a semi-automatic firearm into an automatic firearm. Citizens are being punished not for the crime they committed, but for a crime they might commit in the future. Maybe. This isn't the movie Minority Report. This is reality, and Gavin Newsom is their precog. To politicians, more gun laws are always the answer. But is the best answer? No. If gun laws work so well at preventing criminal action, why do we need more gun laws? Again, a Glock switch is already illegal. Why do you need a new law banning the sale of certain firearms? Do you think that a criminal who is willing to break one law won't break two laws? It's reasonable to assume that just like the previous gun laws, these new gun laws, the Glock ban, will not work as expected. So it'll only be a matter of time until politicians create more gun laws. At what point do they expect them to finally start working? Once all of our Second Amendment rights and freedoms are gone? Instead of creating new gun laws, enforce the laws that are already on the books. Hold individuals accountable for their actions, not groups accountable for individual actions. What I mean by this is, for the most part, gun laws target and negatively impact law-abiding citizens the most. Case in point, the California Glock ban. By preventing every person in California from purchasing a new Glock, it is a mass punishment in the form of deprivation of Second Amendment rights because of the individual actions of a few. I don't have numbers to support this statement because it would be difficult to accurately calculate this, but I'm fairly certain out of all the people in California who own a Glock, the large majority of them have not converted their semi-automatic Glock pistol into full auto, meaning they are abiding by existing gun laws, so why punish them with further gun laws? In terms of justification for this new law, what group of people are the problem? Law-abiding people or criminals? Who is the group of people this new Glock ban law targets the most? Law-abiding people or criminals? What group of people does this new law negatively impact the most? Law-abiding people or criminals? If the answer is law-abiding people, why is this new law being created? Is safety enough of a justification to intentionally deprive the majority of people who aren't the problem of an object that is protected by the Second Amendment? The answer is no. This isn't rock surgery. Taking an individual's ability to defend themselves in high-threat situations doesn't make them safer, but that doesn't prevent government from using safety as the BS justification for them to restrict your rights and freedom. Although AB 1127 is labeled as the Glock ban bill, that doesn't mean that people in California will have to surrender their Glocks, for now anyways. AB 1127 applies to retailers and prevents them from selling certain models and makes, which most of those are Glocks. So if you already own a Glock or striker-fired semi-automatic pistol that uses similar firing components, you'll be grandfathered in, meaning the new law won't apply to you, which sounds like a win. But remember, when the government infringes on your rights, is it really a win just because they didn't take everything? As of now, the royal government in California, no kings. Huh? Pretty good, right? Oh, no? This isn't a king thing? We can't do this here? Oh, my blunder. I'm still learning the rules. Anyway, the government in California is kind enough to allow a grandfather exception, meaning if an individual already owns and possesses Glock models or similar style semi-automatic pistols which are illegal to buy after the law takes effect, you will still be allowed to own them, for now. If you want an idea of what the future holds, look to the past. In 2000, California implemented a ban on the manufacture, importation, and sale of magazines holding more than 10 rounds. These magazines, which oftentimes are standard-sized magazines, are referred to as high-capacity magazines. I did a video on this topic. If you want to learn more about it, there's a link right up there and right down below. When California implemented the high-capacity magazine ban, they were kind enough to have a grandfather exception, until 2016, when Proposition 63 eliminated the grandfather clause. Since then, there has been a legal back and forth as to whether the high-capacity magazine ban is constitutional. No real resolution has been determined yet. Historically, though, if California leadership wants to take your rights, give them enough time. They'll show up and hold their hand out. As I mentioned in the intro, if you don't live in California, this could still impact you. There are several states and cities, some of which might be yours, that are looking at implementing the same or similar style of firearms bans, which is why I referred to this Glock switch concept as a Trojan horse. Let the horse in because it seems like a logical solution with a small sacrifice on your part, and then the true motivation lurking inside spills out and cuts down any standing freedoms and rights. Before you know it, everything is on fire and you have nothing left. It won't stop with a Glock switch. Politicians will continue to find other ways to ban the purchase of firearms because of reasons. They play the long game. They don't need to push for an immediate all guns ban. They just need to push to limit and reduce the ability for people to buy new guns. Chip away at that for years, and in a few generations, no one can buy new guns anymore because of reasons. This is already creating waves in the gun industry. Glock quietly released or let it slip that in November of this year, in about a month, the majority of their current pistol models and generations will no longer be available for purchase and will be replaced with V models. This, I believe, stems from a series of lawsuits blaming Glock because some criminals intentionally modified Glock semi-automatic pistols, which a large majority of those pistols were probably stolen, and that's a crime, with Glock switches, a federal crime to possess, converting them to full auto, again, a crime, that were later involved in shootings. Believe it or not, that's a crime. Some of which led to people being killed, also a crime. But I'm sure criminals will abide by this new law. I think Glock is also making this change to navigate the new Glock bad legislation in an attempt to comply with government restrictions as it pertains to civilian firearm ownership. At the end of the day, in my opinion, this isn't about safety, this is about control. If banning guns or infringing on the Second Amendment right of people made people safer, then politicians should disarm their security details for their protection. But we all know that's not going to happen. Even the most anti-gun politicians aren't really anti-gun. They love guns, which is why they have security details armed with guns. These politicians instead are anti-you having a gun, which is why they tirelessly work to disarm you, not their security detail. It should be noted, for both the Glock ban and high-capacity magazine ban, There are military, law enforcement, and security exceptions, which is interesting because in most cases, the politicians who created the legislation ensured that their armed security details would still have access to the objects they ban you from. Must not be that dangerous then. My point is this: it is not in your best interest to surrender your rights and freedoms to the government for the illusion of safety. Once those rights are gone, it is almost impossible to get them back. Sure, we, the people, can petition the courts to hear cases about legislation, rules, or events that have a negative impact on our rights. But that doesn't mean that the courts will hear those cases. If they do hear them, though, that doesn't mean that they will rule on the side of the people. Not to mention, it is a very time-consuming and expensive process to get cases into and through the court system. For instance, the California high-capacity magazine ban has been working its way through the courts with different results for about 9 years now. During this time, citizens are still having their rights infringed upon. That being said, I have no doubt that pro-Second Amendment groups and firms are going to launch a plethora of lawsuits against California because of AB 1127. Again, that'll take time though. Well, that's it for me, folks. I just wanted to provide this current event update. If you found this information beneficial, please consider subscribing to our channel. Also, let us know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on this topic. Do you think this new law will prevent criminals from doing criminal things? Or do you think good people are getting the raw end of the deal? Either way, let us know down below. Thank you and have a great day. We'll see you in the next video.